We have a very great deal to be proud of. After 100 years in opposition, we had the courage to take up the burdens of government at a time when our country faced its greatest existential economic crisis of our time. Did you really think it would be easy? Of course not. And it hasn't been. But whatever happens at the next election, we were right to do it for our country. And you should be proud of that. Allow no one to forget, Labour walked away from that challenge. I know, I was involved, I asked them. Mr. Cameron says that because of what we did, there will not be legislation allowing bosses to fire workers at will. He complains that we Liberal Democrats have stopped them bringing in a Tory snooper's charter. He says that because of us, they will not be able to ditch the Human Rights Act. You bet they won't.
First and foremost, I'm proud of a fundamental remodelling of the state pension, taking it back to the model devised by that great liberal William Beveridge, whose model was a decent state pension, paid at a flat rate, without the need for means testing, based on a record of contributions. But what we've done is we've brought it up to date. We've recognised that contributing isn't just about having paid work and paying national insurance. We've recognised that it's about bringing up children. It's about caring for elderly or disabled people. Those people are contributing just as much to our society.
And in government, we've launched almost 2 million apprenticeships, which is a quantum leap in ambition. And we're now reforming them to improve quality and employability. And I want to see apprenticeships properly valued. So today I'm proposing a £1 an hour increase in the minimum wage for all first-year apprentices, and I'm writing to the Low Pay Commission to put this in place. And beyond that, I want to see a big expansion in degree-level, advanced apprenticeships, so as to end the false apartheid between academic and vocational education. And I want a big expansion of community adult education, including helping the mentally ill to be properly integrated back in society, working with my colleague Norman Lamb. And let's remember why we're in government. We joined the coalition because there was a national economic emergency. We worked with the Tories because voters chose them as the largest party, not because we like them or because we are like them. We have been a major engine of reform and not just a brake on their extremes. We've also got to communicate to the country our long-term vision of what we want the economy to look like. It's got to be knowledge-based and outward-looking and green.
We wrote the recovery plan. Just look at its main elements. Cutting taxes for working people, not a Conservative idea, a Liberal Democrat idea. A dramatic increase in apprenticeships, not a Conservative idea, a Liberal Democrat idea. Investing in infrastructure, including pushing for upgrades to our great arterial routes like the A1 and the A303, not a Conservative idea, a Liberal Democrat idea. Record investment in renewable energy, not a Conservative idea, a Liberal Democrat idea. Balancing the books and doing so fairly. You ever hear about that from the Tories? No. Absolutely core Lib Dem thinking this recovery wouldn't be happening without Liberal Democrats in the government. And yes, it does mean asking the wealthiest to pay a little more in tax. So we will introduce a new levy on the highest value properties, new bans on top of council tax, to end the outrage that a £50 million property can currently pay the same in council tax as a £500,000 home. This new tax will be fair, affordable, and will generate funds that will help our nation to live within its means. And Liberal Democrats have also led the crackdown on tax avoidance. The investment I announced at this conference in 2010 is now bringing in an extra £7 billion a year. We are insisting that tax dodgers pay the right tax up front. They only get any money if their scheme is later proved in the courts to work. And we're using psychologists and behavioral economists in HMRC to get the money quickly. Tax dodgers beware. We know where you live, we know how much you owe, and now we know how you think. Your behaviour is unacceptable, and we are coming for our money.
Women's growing role in the labour market has not been matched by a similar change in domestic roles. The vast majority of caring responsibilities still fall to women. And faced with this inequality at home, it's perhaps not surprising that equality at work has been so elusive. And it's not only women who are shortchanged here. But research clearly shows that fathers playing a more active role has a positive impact on a child's development. Parenting is a shared endeavour, but the current system prevents couples from making their own choices about how to split the caring responsibilities. The assumption that mum's role is to stay at home with baby while dad goes out to bring home the bacon has been entrenched in law. Well, Liberal Democrats, we've changed that law to let families shared parental leave, and about time too.
But there is so much more to do. People with mental ill health get a raw deal. It's always been that way, but it's both morally wrong and economically stupid. Mental ill health costs our economy an estimated £100 billion a year. Sickness absence, lost employment, the cost of benefits, the impact on families, enormous financial costs, but more important, devastating human cost. But the evidence is strong. Treatment for a range of mental health conditions is just as effective as for physical health. Now, tomorrow, Nick and I will be making a significant announcement on mental health, and I want to pay tribute to his leadership, the first party leader to make a speech about mental health for years, possibly ever. He launched our action plan for essential change earlier this year. He's always backed me personally, and for that I'm really grateful. No other country in the world is taking the steps that we are pursuing in mental health. We will lead the way. The impact that we could have on so many people's lives is immense.
Of course, there are many other so-called traditions that keep people locked in oppression. After all, it's not only your gender that the power-hungry find threatening, but also who you love. LGBT persecution is about power. It's about keeping people in their place. At home, we have made incredible progress, and obviously, words can't really describe the overwhelming joy I felt attending 2 beautiful wedding ceremonies on that historic day in March when finally love became equal before the law. We are all connected to events around the world and to each other. We all want a better future for our children and our grandchildren and a chance to get on in life. And that's exactly what Liberal Democrats work hard to secure.
Above all, we are proving people can have greener energy and cheaper energy, even as vested interests are desperate to persuade people you can't. Just look at our green energy success. Renewable energy generation, renewable energy investment, both more than doubled under us. And I want to see community energy, local energy, grow dramatically. And so I asked to see the department's community energy team, but we didn't have one. I was told we didn't need one. Well, there is one now. And Britain's first ever community energy strategy to help communities across our country power themselves.
And in what might be possibly the least fashionable statement made by any party leader this conference season, politicians of every party have fed this growing cynicism by exaggerating and overstating what governments can do. We've all done it. I've been there. When I apologised for the disappointment and anger caused by our inability to scrap tuition fees, I knew we could never, ever make that mistake again. And we won't. We understand that political parties must show by doing. Our promise of more must be built on a record of delivery, not just words. So if you meet someone who doesn't believe we'll raise the personal allowance to £12,500, tell them how we've already raised it to £10,500. If they're not persuaded that we can help young people with their travel costs to college, tell them we've created more apprenticeships than any government since the war. If they're cynical about our promises to help with young children, tell them we're the first party ever to start providing free support for 2-year-olds across the country, tax-free childcare and free school meals for infants, and all of it while fixing our broken public finances so they can be sure we'll finish balancing the books fairly too. Danny said it all and set it all out on Sunday. Eliminating the deficit in the first 3 years of the next Parliament, and then bringing debt down steadily and sustainably. Running a budget that is balanced overall, and this is crucial, doing it in a way that allows us to invest in Britain's creaking infrastructure too. The Liberal Democrats will borrow less than Labour, but will cut less than the Tories. We'll finish the job, but we'll finish it in a way that is fair. And just as we are refusing to saddle our children with mountains of debt, we're determined to hand them on a clean planet too. Both parties in this government, both, promised back then that we would stick to our green commitments, but it has taken constant pressure from the Liberal Democrats, not least Ed Davey, to hold the Tories to their word. And I can tell you now that a sustainable environment will remain at the heart of our vision for Britain's future. It's not green crap to us. A plan that is credible. A party which has learnt from our mistakes. A party proud to have delivered on the commitments we made on the front page of our last manifesto. Remember this? Remember those 4 commitments? And a whole lot more. The biggest change in income tax in a generation, designed and delivered by Lib Dems. The biggest overhaul of our pension system, designed and delivered by Lib Dems. The biggest amount of money going to early years education every year, more than any previous government, designed and delivered by Lib Dems. The biggest shake-up of parental leave, revolutionising the rules for mothers who want to work and fathers who want to stay at home, designed and delivered by Lib Dems. The biggest ever commitment to renewable energy, designed and delivered by Lib Dems. And one of the biggest, proudest achievements for all of us, giving gay couples the same right to marry as everyone else, designed and delivered by Lib Dems. And that, my friends, that is an extraordinary record from anyone, let alone a party that had never been in government before, let alone at a time of upheaval and strife. So when you meet people who still aren't sure about us, ask them this: how will you judge us? By the one policy we couldn't deliver in government, or by the countless policies we did deliver in government?